The recent courtroom incident involving Queen Camilla's daughter stands as a profoundly significant moment, both for the individuals involved and for the wider society that watches royal affairs with intense interest. The phrase "attacked in court" evokes a scenario filled with tension, vulnerability, and high stakes, whether the attack was physical, verbal, legal, or procedural. This kind of event is not simply a personal crisis. It becomes a public spectacle that invites widespread commentary and judgment. The impact of such a moment reaches far beyond the courtroom walls, echoing in media coverage, public opinion, and within the fabric of the family itself. At the center of this situation is a young woman whose life has been shaped by her connection to the British royal family, a position that carries immense expectations, scrutiny, and pressure. Growing up in the shadow of a monarch, or a queen consort in this case, brings a unique set of challenges. Public life imposes relentless demands on personal privacy and autonomy, and the individual behind the royal title often becomes a subject rather than an agent in the public eye. To be attacked in court under such circumstances reveals not only the intensity of the moment, but also the fragility of human experience under the weight of royal legacy. The courtroom, a place meant to serve justice and fairness, sometimes becomes a venue where the pressures of life intersect with the harsh reality of legal or personal disputes. This intersection is fraught with complexity. The attack in court could have involved aggressive questioning, an emotionally charged confrontation, or even an incident of harassment. Each of these possibilities underscores the reality that being a member of a high-profile family does not provide immunity from pain, conflict, or trauma. On the contrary, it may even exacerbate these experiences because of the intense scrutiny and the stakes involved. When the words, "goodbye forever," enter the narrative, the gravity of the situation deepens further. This phrase carries a finality that is emotionally charged and complex. It hints at endings, separations, and possibly irreparable damage to relationships or personal standing. Yet, the reality of human relationships, especially within families, often defies such absolutes. Goodbye forever can mean different things in different contexts. A literal farewell, a symbolic closing of a chapter, or even a declaration of independence and new beginnings. In the context of Queen Camilla's daughter, this phrase invites us to contemplate the emotional landscape beyond the headlines, the pain, the choices, and the potential for transformation. The public reaction to such an event is often immediate and polarized. On one side, there is empathy, people who recognize the vulnerability and courage involved in facing such a public ordeal. On the other side, criticism and speculation often take hold, fueled by a desire for scandal or sensationalism. This polarization reflects broader societal tendencies to view public figures through binary lenses of fault or innocence, strength or weakness. Such simplistic interpretations rarely do justice to the complex realities of individual experience, especially when intertwined with family dynamics and public roles. Understanding the implications of this incident also involves looking at the broader context of mental health and emotional well-being. The pressures faced by individuals connected to royal families can be immense. Constant public scrutiny, media intrusion, and expectations of perfection create a challenging environment. The courtroom attack, whatever its specifics, serves as a stark reminder that no one is immune to distress or confrontation. It also highlights the need for greater awareness and support structures to help those in the public eye manage stress and trauma. Privacy is another crucial element in this narrative. Members of the royal family are often at the mercy of the media, whose coverage can swing between admiration and invasion. The delicate balance between public interest and personal privacy becomes especially precarious in moments of crisis. The courtroom incident involving Queen Camilla's daughter draws attention to this tension. How much should be revealed? How can respect for privacy be maintained while fulfilling the public's demand for transparency? These questions remain central to media ethics and public discourse around royalty. Looking historically, royal families worldwide have endured episodes of public scandal and private suffering. Each generation faces its own unique challenges in navigating public expectations and personal realities. The incident involving Queen Camilla's daughter fits within this long tradition of scrutiny and struggle. It also shows how modern media, social platforms, and the 24-hour news cycle amplify and complicate these experiences, making recovery and privacy even more difficult. The phrase, "goodbye forever," may also signify a turning point, an irrevocable change that forces reassessment. In families, particularly those in the public eye, moments of rupture often prompt reflection on identity, purpose, and future direction. For Queen Camilla's daughter, this could be a time to reconsider how she wants to engage with public life, how she balances personal needs against public expectations, and what legacy she wishes to forge. Such moments, while painful, can also serve as catalysts for profound personal growth. It is important to emphasize the role of resilience. Human beings have a remarkable capacity to endure hardship and to rebuild. Resilience does not mean the absence of pain or difficulty, but rather the ability to navigate through adversity, learn, and emerge stronger. The path from courtroom attack and public controversy to healing and renewal may be long and challenging, but it is far from impossible. With the right support systems, a strong sense of self, and the willingness to seek help, individuals can reclaim their narrative and find new ways to thrive. From the perspective of the royal family as a whole, such incidents raise important questions about how members are supported, both publicly and privately. The modern monarchy faces ongoing pressure to evolve, to become more transparent, and to better address the well-being of its members. Events like this courtroom incident highlight the human cost behind royal duties and public service. They also underscore the importance of institutional reforms and compassionate leadership within the royal household. The public discourse around this event also opens space for a broader conversation about the nature of forgiveness and reconciliation. While "goodbye forever" may suggest permanent separation, history teaches that relationships can heal, sometimes unexpectedly. Forgiveness is a complex process that requires time, empathy, and often difficult conversations. For public figures, the path to reconciliation is made more complicated by external pressures, but remains essential for personal peace and family harmony. Media coverage will inevitably continue, and with it, the potential for both harm and healing. Responsible journalism that respects boundaries and avoids sensationalism can contribute to a more balanced understanding of the incident. It can also foster empathy among the public, encouraging viewers and readers to see beyond headlines and to consider the human experiences at the heart of such events. Another important aspect is the impact on younger generations, both within the royal family and in the public who look up to them. The way this incident is handled, discussed, and resolved can set precedents for how mental health, conflict, and privacy are addressed in high-profile families. It can encourage more open conversations about vulnerability and resilience, helping to reduce stigma and promote supportive environments. At a societal level, this incident challenges us to rethink our relationship with public figures. It asks whether the price of fame and royal association is too high, and how we can balance admiration with respect for individual dignity. It also highlights the importance of compassion in public discourse, reminding us that behind every headline is a person with feelings, fears, and hopes. Looking forward, the phrase "goodbye forever" need not be a declaration of defeat, but rather a stepping stone toward renewal. It can symbolize the closing of one difficult chapter and the beginning of another, marked by self-discovery, healing, and new possibilities. Queen Camilla's daughter, like anyone who faces adversity, has the potential to redefine her future on her own terms. In conclusion, the courtroom attack on Queen Camilla's daughter and the resonant phrase "goodbye forever" represent a moment of significant difficulty but also immense potential. This event, while challenging, does not mark the end of her story, but rather a turning point. With resilience, empathy, and support, there is every reason to believe that healing, growth, and renewal are not only possible but likely. The future remains open, and the strength found in adversity can lead to a life defined by authenticity and purpose beyond public expectation. The startling news that Queen Camilla was attacked in court has sent shockwaves through both the royal circles and the general public. Such a moment is jarring, not only because of the person involved, but because of the setting, a courtroom, a place traditionally associated with order, respect, and the rule of law. The very idea of an attack occurring within this formal environment challenges our expectations and underscores the unpredictable nature of public life, even for someone as esteemed as Queen Camilla. It prompts a deep reflection on the pressures faced by individuals who occupy prominent roles, the vulnerabilities inherent in those positions, and the resilience required to navigate through such adversity. Being a queen consort places Camilla in a unique position of public responsibility and intense scrutiny. Every aspect of her life, from personal choices to public appearances, is examined with relentless attention. This attack, therefore, cannot be understood merely as an isolated incident. It is an event that illuminates the complex intersection between personal dignity, public role, and media spectacle. In court, where civility and justice are paramount, an attack disrupts not only the legal proceedings, but the foundational trust in the institutions that govern public life. The phrase, "goodbye forever," that accompanies this incident resonates with a powerful emotional charge. It suggests a rupture, a moment of irrevocable change, one that may alter relationships, status, or personal trajectories permanently. For Queen Camilla, such a phrase might symbolize an end to certain roles, alliances, or chapters in her life, inviting us to consider the broader implications for the monarchy, the royal family, and the public's relationship with them. Yet, within the finality of goodbye forever, there is also space to find hope. Hope that from endings come new beginnings, that transformations can lead to renewal, and that resilience can prevail even in the most difficult circumstances. It is crucial to recognize the human element at the heart of this incident. Queen Camilla, despite her status, is a person with emotions, vulnerabilities, and strengths. To be attacked in a public, formal setting invites a rawness that cuts across titles and protocols. It exposes the fact that behind the public facade lies a deeply human experience marked by pain, endurance, and the capacity to heal. This recognition invites empathy and a reconsideration of how public figures are treated, reminding us that respect and compassion are fundamental, regardless of position. The courtroom attack is also a vivid reminder of the evolving challenges faced by modern monarchies. In an era of heightened transparency, instantaneous media coverage, and shifting public expectations, royal figures must balance tradition with adaptation. Incidents such as this underscore the urgent need for support systems that address mental health, personal security, and the pressures that come with being a symbol of national identity. For Queen Camilla, navigating this terrain requires not only personal courage, but also institutional support that respects her dignity and well-being. Media coverage of the attack will inevitably shape public perception and dialogue. How the story is told, whether with sensationalism or sensitivity, will influence the narrative that surrounds Queen Camilla and the monarchy at large. Responsible journalism that prioritizes accuracy, respects privacy, and avoids inflaming tensions can foster a more informed and compassionate public response. In contrast, exploitative coverage risks deepening divisions and exacerbating personal distress. This moment is a test for the media as much as it is for those directly involved. Public reaction to the news ranges widely, from shock and concern to speculation and criticism. This diversity reflects the complex relationship society holds with the monarchy, characterized by admiration, skepticism, and evolving expectations. The attack in court challenges many assumptions about royal invulnerability and highlights the fragile humanity that lies beneath ceremonial roles. It invites a more nuanced understanding of what it means to serve as a queen consort in today's world, and the sacrifices and challenges that come with such service. The goodbye forever aspect of this story can also be interpreted as a metaphor for change within the monarchy itself. Whether it signals a personal withdrawal, a shift in public roles, or a transformation of royal protocols, it points to a period of transition. Monarchies have historically been institutions of continuity, yet they must also adapt to remain relevant and effective. Moments of crisis and rupture, while difficult, often serve as catalysts for renewal, prompting reflection on values, priorities, and the relationship between tradition and modernity. It is important to place this incident in the context of Queen Camilla's life and public journey. She has long navigated complex public perceptions, evolving from a figure of controversy to one increasingly embraced as part of the royal family fabric. The attack in court, therefore, represents both a setback and a challenge to that evolving narrative. It is an opportunity to witness her resilience, to observe how she responds with grace and strength, and to reflect on the broader societal lessons that emerge from her experience. Mental health considerations are deeply relevant here. The pressures of public life, compounded by moments of crisis such as this, can have profound effects on emotional well-being. Recognizing the importance of mental health support for public figures is essential, as is challenging stigma and promoting open dialogue. Queen Camilla's experience can serve as a powerful reminder that even those in the highest positions face struggles and need support. This can encourage broader conversations about care, compassion, and the human side of leadership. The role of privacy in this event is a particularly sensitive issue. Royal lives are often public by nature, yet moments of vulnerability call for respect and discretion. Balancing the public's right to know with the individual's right to privacy is a delicate and ongoing challenge. The attack in court spotlights the tension between these interests and raises important ethical questions about boundaries, consent, and dignity in media coverage. This incident also invites reflection on forgiveness and reconciliation. Whether the attack leads to lasting conflict or eventual healing depends on many factors, including the willingness of those involved to engage in difficult conversations and to seek common ground. Forgiveness is a process that requires time, empathy, and courage. For Queen Camilla, navigating this path amidst public scrutiny adds layers of complexity but also highlights the universal human quest for peace and restoration. The broader public discourse following this event offers an opportunity to rethink attitudes towards the monarchy and those who serve within it. It challenges simplistic narratives and encourages a more empathetic and informed understanding of the burdens and responsibilities carried by royal figures. This can foster a healthier, more supportive relationship between the public and the monarchy, one grounded in respect for individual dignity and recognition of shared humanity. Looking ahead, the phrase "goodbye forever" need not mark an end, but can signify transformation. It can represent a conscious decision to close certain chapters and to open others, to redefine roles, and to pursue paths aligned with personal authenticity and well-being. For Queen Camilla, this may be a time to embrace new opportunities, to assert her voice, and to contribute to the royal legacy in ways that resonate with contemporary values. This incident also has implications for the monarchy's future. It underscores the necessity of evolving royal traditions to meet the demands of modern society, including greater transparency, accountability, and support for mental health. The monarchy's ability to adapt while honoring its history will be crucial in maintaining relevance and public trust. Events such as this courtroom attack serve as pivotal moments in this ongoing evolution. The resilience demonstrated by Queen Camilla in the face of adversity is a testament to human strength and determination. Her experience reminds us that setbacks are not definitive, but part of a larger journey. With courage, support, and self-compassion, individuals can overcome challenges and emerge with renewed purpose and clarity. This message is both personal and universal, offering hope to anyone facing difficulties in their own lives. In conclusion, the recent attack on Queen Camilla in court and the accompanying "goodbye forever" sentiment represent a moment of profound challenge and potential transformation. While the incident exposes vulnerability and pain, it also opens the door to healing, growth, and renewed strength. It invites us to see beyond the titles and ceremonies, to recognize the humanity at the heart of public figures, and to approach their stories with empathy and respect. The future, though uncertain, holds possibilities for renewal and positive change. Queen Camilla's journey, marked by this difficult moment, can inspire a broader conversation about resilience, dignity, and the evolving role of monarchy in the 21st century. The British monarchy was rocked to its core moments ago by an unprecedented and deeply emotional event unfolding live in a high-profile courtroom. Queen Camilla, a woman long associated with royal composure and resilience, was seen openly crying, overcome with emotion after new and deeply disturbing footage was introduced into evidence, footage that reportedly reveals indisputable proof of infidelity on her part. This shocking revelation not only threatens to destabilize the royal family, but has ignited a firestorm of public, legal, and media reactions across the globe, shaking centuries-old institutions and raising difficult questions about loyalty, privacy, and the future of the monarchy itself. For decades, Camilla Rosemary Parker Bowles, now Queen Camilla, has lived under the public microscope as one of the most controversial figures within the British royal family. Her relationship with Prince Charles was for years the subject of whispered rumors, harsh media scrutiny, and in some circles, outright hostility. Yet over time, a combination of careful public relations efforts, philanthropic work, and her increasingly visible role beside King Charles helped soften public opinion, transforming her from a scapegoat for past marital breakdowns into a dignified and respected figure in her own right. Her elevation to queen consort was seen by many as a symbol of acceptance and continuity within the monarchy. That image was suddenly and dramatically shattered today. The footage, released and played for the first time in court less than an hour ago, allegedly captures Queen Camilla engaging in intimate acts and conversations that directly contradict the royal narrative of a faithful partnership with King Charles. According to court insiders, the video is of such clarity and detail that it leaves little room for denial or misinterpretation. The provenance of this footage remains shrouded in mystery, with speculation swirling about whether it was leaked by an insider within the palace, an external party with vested interests, or even a disgruntled member of the royal household staff. The motivations behind the leak are equally murky, but its impact is undeniable. The atmosphere in the courtroom was suffocating as the footage played. Members of the press, legal officials, and onlookers sat in stunned silence. The usual veneer of formality was broken by a rare and deeply human moment. Queen Camilla herself visibly crumbled. Her face flushed, tears streaming down her cheeks. She struggled to maintain composure as the weight of decades of scrutiny and the pain of public exposure culminated in this raw emotional breakdown. Witnesses describe her trembling hands, the subtle hitching of her breath, and her desperate attempts to steady herself with a handkerchief. It was a scene that felt almost surreal. A queen, often seen as the embodiment of royal steadiness, brought low by the harsh glare of truth and public judgment. This moment of vulnerability has immediately sparked a wave of responses across several arenas: legal, royal, social, and psychological. From a legal standpoint, this case is unprecedented in many respects. The British monarchy, while not immune to scandal, typically operates within a carefully guarded private sphere, with disputes and indiscretions often managed discreetly behind palace walls. The public airing of such intimate and damaging footage in a court of law is almost unheard of, and raises complex questions about privacy, defamation, and the limits of royal immunity. Legal scholars are divided on what this could mean for Queen Camilla and the monarchy. Some argue that this could set a dangerous precedent for royal privacy, potentially opening the floodgates for more invasive scrutiny of personal matters, while others warn that the legal ramifications might force constitutional reconsiderations of the monarch's role and protections. One prominent constitutional expert noted, "The monarchy's survival depends heavily on public perception and the careful balance of tradition and transparency." This case could force a re-examination of those boundaries and might even prompt parliamentary discussions on royal accountability. Within Buckingham Palace, sources describe a state of emergency. Confidential meetings are underway, with senior advisors, communications experts, and legal teams working around the clock to contain the fallout. A royal insider told reporters, "This is the worst crisis we've faced in decades. Everyone is deeply concerned about the king's well-being and the queen's position. The palace is preparing statements, but the sensitivity of the situation means every word must be carefully weighed." The palace's silence on the matter thus far has only fueled speculation. King Charles, who is said to be devastated but resolute, has not yet addressed the public. Insiders describe his demeanor as gravely serious, and close confidants say he is torn between protecting the dignity of his family and addressing the undeniable breach of trust. The monarch's role as a symbol of unity and stability is under threat, and how he responds in the coming days will be pivotal. Public reaction has been nothing short of explosive. Social media platforms across the world are alight with hashtags related to Queen Camilla, the royal family, and the scandal, trending at unprecedented levels. Online commentary reveals a deeply polarized population. Royal loyalists express empathy, urging the public to respect the Queen's privacy and to consider the immense personal toll this must take on her. "We are all human," many write. "No one is perfect. Let's hope for healing, not humiliation." Conversely, critics and skeptics are demanding answers and transparency. Many question how such behavior could be reconciled with the values expected of a monarch. Some go further, calling for investigations into the possible abuse of royal privilege and potential implications for the king's reign. "The monarchy must be held accountable," declares one popular commentator. "If the queen consort betrays her vows, what does that say about the crown itself?" Media outlets have launched exhaustive coverage, dispatching reporters and analysts to dissect every angle. From daytime talk shows to primetime news specials, royal experts weigh in with analyses ranging from the psychological pressures of royal life to historical comparisons with past scandals. Documentaries and opinion pieces are already in production, some drawing parallels with the tumultuous reigns of monarchs who faced personal betrayals but retained their thrones, while others speculate that this could be the beginning of a long and difficult unraveling. Psychologists and social scientists have also joined the conversation, pointing out the extraordinary stress and isolation often experienced by members of the royal family. Dr. Eleanor Hughes, a specialist in public figure psychology, commented, "To cry in court is a moment of intense human vulnerability, especially for someone accustomed to controlling their image. It speaks to the tremendous emotional burden she carries, balancing private pain with public expectation." Historically, royal scandals involving infidelity have been both damaging and transformative. The British monarchy's own history is marked by episodes of betrayal, secrecy, and reconciliation. The abdication crisis of King Edward VIII in 1936 over his desire to marry Wallis Simpson remains one of the most famous examples. More recently, the marriage of Prince Charles and Princess Diana was rocked by well-documented infidelities on both sides, leading to divorce and a public relations nightmare for the crown. Yet what distinguishes today's situation is the immediacy and permanence of the digital age. The footage is not merely a fleeting tabloid rumor. It is undeniable, tangible, and accessible globally. The viral nature of modern media means the monarchy's usual control over its narrative is severely compromised. Questions about the future abound. How will this affect Queen Camilla's role? Will she retain her title and duties? What does this mean for King Charles and the line of succession? Could this scandal catalyze broader debates about the relevance and reform of the monarchy in the 21st century? Royal commentators suggest multiple scenarios. Some believe the Queen consort may retreat from public life temporarily or permanently to allow the family time to heal. Others speculate about the possibility of a formal statement or apology. In the most extreme scenarios, constitutional experts do not entirely rule out the possibility of legal separation or annulment, though such an outcome would be without precedent and highly disruptive. Behind closed doors, the royal family is reportedly rallying to support Queen Camilla during this distressing time. Insiders reveal that King Charles has been seen visiting her privately, offering comfort and reassurance amid the public storm. Family members and close friends are said to be encouraging her to seek counseling and emotional support, acknowledging the human toll behind the headlines. Meanwhile, international reactions are pouring in from foreign governments, diplomats, and royal watchers. Allies and monarchies abroad are watching the situation closely, mindful of its potential to influence the global image of monarchy and leadership. As the story develops, it serves as a stark reminder that even the most exalted figures are subject to human frailty. The pressures of royal life, combined with intense public scrutiny and personal challenges, create an environment where private mistakes become public crises. For now, the image of Queen Camilla in court, tearful, vulnerable, yet dignified, will linger in the public consciousness as a symbol of the complex interplay between tradition. Seeing is believing, or hearing this is. Like many others in the country and beyond, few had ever imagined a day would come when decades of speculation surrounding Princess Diana's death would circle back not to unnamed conspirators or faceless officials, but directly to Queen Camilla. For years, whispers and theories hovered in the background of public memory. But nothing could prepare the nation for the moment when a courtroom, already tense with anticipation, was thrown into utter chaos by the sudden reveal of long-buried surveillance footage. footage that placed Queen Camilla in a place no one expected her to be on the day Diana died. From the very beginning, the case had been unusual. It hadn't started with Diana at all. Initially, the trial had centered on financial impropriety within the royal household. Millions of pounds had allegedly been misdirected, hidden through offshore accounts and hush payments. Queen Camilla's name had surfaced repeatedly, quietly at first, then with louder and more damning associations. The press had a field day. But it wasn't until a former palace staffer, protected under whistleblower laws, stepped forward that the tide truly began to shift. The individual had access to confidential materials, some of them previously unknown to the public, and among them was a small envelope marked only with a date: August 31st, 1997. It was almost dismissed as irrelevant at first. But then someone noticed the unusual label and insisted it be submitted into evidence under seal. The judge, unfamiliar with its contents but convinced of its relevance to the broader case of potential royal misconduct, agreed. No one in the room that day could have imagined the firestorm that envelope would unleash. As the trial continued, new information emerged. There were claims not just of financial misconduct, but of deep, deliberate manipulation within the highest ranks of the royal household. Evidence suggested that Queen Camilla had long held far more influence over political decisions, appointments, and media narratives than the public ever knew. Some called it savvy strategy. Others called it abuse of power. The court was forced to consider whether Camilla, far from being a passive royal figure, had orchestrated layers of deceit and control that spanned decades. But all of that was eclipsed when the prosecution finally petitioned the court to unseal the mysterious envelope. The judge, under mounting pressure from both sides, approved the motion. It happened in the middle of the trial. A small screen was brought forward. Lawyers leaned in. Journalists readied their notepads. The gallery shifted forward in their seats. And then, in grainy black and white, the footage began to play. The date in the corner confirmed it: August 31st, 1997. The location: a quiet service corridor inside the Ritz Hotel in Paris. The time: just over 30 minutes before the Mercedes carrying Princess Diana, Dodi Fayed, and their driver Henri Paul would crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The camera, positioned high and facing a seldom-used hallway, showed a figure emerging from a side door. She was in disguise: dark sunglasses, headscarf, coat pulled tightly around her frame. At first, no one could identify her with certainty. The quality was low, and her face remained turned from the camera for much of the clip. But then came the moment that changed everything. As the figure turned, for just a second, the scarf slipped from her neck, revealing a signature necklace that royal watchers instantly recognized. Then the sunglasses tilted, catching the overhead light, revealing unmistakable facial features. Forensic analysis conducted prior to court had already verified it. The woman in the hallway was Camilla Parker Bowles. The reaction inside the courtroom was instantaneous. Gasps, shouts, audible cries of disbelief. Even some members of the press stood up, unable to contain their astonishment. One juror reportedly dropped their pen, hands visibly trembling. The footage had shattered decades of official narratives in less than 2 minutes. What was Queen Camilla doing in Paris on the day Diana died? No official itinerary placed her there. No travel logs. No security detail records. Her alibi had always placed her in the English countryside, attending a private gathering with friends. Yet there she was, on video, moving discreetly through the same hotel where Diana had spent her final hours. The implications were staggering. The defense scrambled. They demanded a recess. They questioned the authenticity of the footage, despite the forensic verification. They insisted the image was circumstantial, that even if Camilla had been in Paris, it didn't mean anything, but the damage was done. Public perception tilted sharply. The courtroom had erupted not just with noise, but with a seismic shift in belief. What followed in the days after was a deep, intense analysis of everything the footage implied. The press dubbed it the monarchy. Tipping point. Social media exploded with theories. Historians were interviewed around the clock. Former royal staffers, emboldened by the leak, came forward in small waves, offering glimpses of conversations, behavior, and unexplained travel arrangements from that summer. Camilla, they said, had been unusually withdrawn during that time. she made sudden, unannounced trips. Some even claimed they overheard heated conversations between her and Prince Charles about her being seen and keeping things quiet. The royal family issued no statement for days. Their silence only deepened public suspicion. The footage replayed on television, in documentaries, across every platform imaginable. And the central question refused to fade. What possible reason could Camilla have had to be near Diana that night? They were not friends. Their history was one of betrayal, heartbreak, and bitter rivalry. Some suggested the meeting had been planned. Perhaps Camilla had gone to confront Diana. Perhaps it was an attempt to persuade her to back away from certain media interviews Diana had reportedly been planning. Others took it further. They pointed to Diana's own words in her infamous Panorama interview, where she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." They recalled how she had spoken openly about forces working against her. Was Camilla one of those forces? Investigators reopened cold files. French officials, under pressure from British journalists, began re-examining records from the Ritz that night. Gaps in the security logs, missing names on guest lists, cameras mysteriously offline for certain hours. One hotel staff member, who had never spoken publicly before, came forward to say he had seen a woman matching Camilla's description exiting a staff elevator shortly before the Mercedes left the hotel garage. In court, the prosecution built a narrative that was impossible to ignore. They did not claim Camilla caused the crash, but they did claim she had a motive to be there, and more importantly, had deliberately concealed her presence from the public and the royal institution. This, they argued, was a violation of public trust at the highest level. Combined with the financial accusations, it painted a picture of a woman not only controlling, but dangerously secretive, willing to place herself at the heart of historical tragedy while letting the world believe otherwise. Royalists were split. Some defended her fiercely, saying the footage proved nothing beyond presence. But others, especially among Diana's loyal supporters, were outraged. Protests formed outside the courtroom daily. Candles and photos of Diana were placed along the gates of Buckingham Palace. Chants of "Justice for Diana" echoed in the streets. For many, the footage wasn't just new information, it was confirmation of long-held suspicions, vindication after years of being told their doubts were nothing more than conspiracy. The trial continued. More footage emerged, not just from Paris, but from airports, showing an arrival from a private jet that matched the royal flight registry, but was registered under a fake corporate name. The plane had landed in Paris hours before Diana's death. Again, the woman disembarking wore dark sunglasses and a scarf. Again, the necklace flashed. Again, it was Camilla. Theories abounded. Some said she wanted to stop Diana from releasing a personal memoir that could have damaged the royal family irreparably. Others believed she had gone to Paris for another reason entirely, and coincidentally ended up at the same hotel. But coincidence no longer seemed plausible in the face of so much secrecy. For many, the footage didn't just alter their understanding of Camilla. It reopened emotional wounds tied to Diana herself, the world's princess, the mother taken too soon, the woman whose death had never quite sat right with so many. Now, the idea that someone so close to the institution that had failed her might have been watching her, perhaps confronting her, in her final hours, it was almost too much to bear. As the gavel finally came down and the court adjourned for deliberations, silence once again fell over the chamber. But this time, it was the heavy, loaded silence of history pivoting. Whatever the verdict would be, the world had already changed. The image of Camilla in that hallway would forever haunt the memory of Diana's final day. And though no sentence could rewrite the past, the truth, or at least a fragment of it, had finally seen the light. And the courtroom? It would never be the same again. The royal family has weathered many storms over the decades, from abdication crises to divorces played out in tabloid headlines. But nothing could have prepared the monarchy for what emerged last week. Over 100 private videos of Queen Camilla, spanning decades, leaked to media outlets worldwide. These recordings, many filmed without Camilla's knowledge, have sent shockwaves through royal watchers and historians alike. forcing a complete re-examination of the narratives surrounding the royal family's most turbulent period. The footage, authenticated by digital forensics experts from Cambridge University, appears to have been collected by a longtime royal household staff member with unprecedented access to private royal residences. The collection includes everything from casual conversations at Highgrove during the height of Charles and Camilla's affair, to more recent discussions at Clarence House after she became queen consort. Most disturbingly, several recordings reveal Camilla discussing Princess Diana in ways that contradict everything the public has been led to believe. Royal correspondent Richard Palmer described the leak as the most significant breach of royal privacy in modern history. While Buckingham Palace has issued an unprecedented legal injunction to prevent British media from publishing most of the material, foreign outlets and social media platforms continue to circulate clips, making it impossible to contain what one royal aide has called devastatingly candid moments that were never meant for public consumption. The Diana revelations. She knew everything. Perhaps the most explosive videos show Camilla in conversation with her close friend Lucia van der Post at Raymill House, her private Wiltshire residence, in 2001. In one clip, Camilla is heard saying, "Charles doesn't know I kept the letters. Diana knew everything about us from the beginning. She confronted me at that ridiculous party at Annabelle's, waving the transcripts in my face. The poor thing thought she had leverage, but what could she possibly do with them that wouldn't destroy her sons as well?" This contradicts the narrative Camilla presented in authorized biographies, where she claimed Diana was initially unaware of the true nature of her relationship with Charles. More significantly, it suggests Diana possessed written evidence of the affair predating her marriage, evidence Charles may have been unaware of even after Diana's death. Former Royal Protection Officer Ken Worf, who served Diana in the late 1980s, has now confirmed, "Diana did mention transcripts to me once. She said they were like insurance, but she would never use them because they would hurt William and Harry. I always assumed they were just telephone recordings, but these videos suggest something more substantial, possibly written correspondence that would have proven the affair never truly ended, even briefly." In another recording from 2005, shortly before her marriage to Charles, Camilla appears distressed while speaking with her sister Annabelle Elliot. They're saying Diana's crash wasn't an accident. It's complete nonsense, but Charles is terrified it will come back to him somehow. The irony is that Diana herself started those rumors with that ridiculous letter to Burrell. She was always so theatrical, but even she couldn't have imagined what she was setting in motion. The letter to Burrell references correspondence Diana sent to her butler Paul Burrell, in which she predicted she would die in a car accident orchestrated by Charles to clear the way for his marriage to Camilla. While this letter became public knowledge after Diana's death, Camilla's dismissive characterization of it as theatrical has outraged Diana supporters and reignited conspiracy theories about the Paris crash. The Lost Letters. What happened in New York? Several videos reference a collection of correspondence between Charles and Camilla that has never been acknowledged publicly. Letters apparently stored in a locked cabinet at Raymill House. In a 2013 clip, Camilla instructs her assistant, "Those New York letters need to be moved. Now that Charles is pushing for me to have a more prominent role, we can't risk someone from the household staff stumbling across them during inventory." Royal historian Hugo Vickers believes these may relate to a previously unknown incident during Charles and Diana's tour of New York in 1985. There was an unexplained 24-hour period when Charles claimed to be unwell and remained in the British consulate while Diana continued engagements alone, Vickers explains. Staff members from that time have always hinted something significant happened, but details have remained remarkably confidential for decades. The videos suggest Camilla flew secretly to New York during this period, a revelation that would mean the affair continued through what was previously thought to be a period of reconciliation in Charles and Diana's marriage. In one recording from 2018, Camilla tells a visitor to Clarence House, "The New York trip nearly ended everything. If those photos had emerged then rather than the Squidgygate nonsense years later, I doubt we'd be sitting here today." The Highgrove tapes. The Shadow Court. Perhaps the most damaging videos to the monarchy's stability are recordings from Highgrove House in the early 1990s. These show what royal staff apparently referred to as the Shadow Court. a circle of Camilla's friends and associates who wielded extraordinary influence over Prince Charles during his marriage to Diana. These gatherings, often held while Diana was away on royal engagements, show Camilla effectively presiding over discussions about the running of Charles's household, his charitable foundation, and even aspects of his royal duties. In one particularly troubling clip from 1992, Camilla discusses Diana's schedule with Charles's private secretary Richard Aylard, saying, "We need to keep her busy with those foreign hospitals and orphans she loves so much. The more time she spends cutting ribbons abroad, the less time she has for those poison pen interviews at home." Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond has called these scenes astonishing evidence of a parallel power structure within the royal household. The footage reveals Camilla's influence extended far beyond a romantic relationship. She was effectively functioning as Charles's most trusted advisor and confidant on matters that should have been Diana's domain, as his wife and the future queen. More disturbing are discussions about planting negative stories about Diana in the press. One video shows Camilla in conversation with a man identified as a senior tabloid editor, discussing Diana's mental health struggles. The eating disorder angle works perfectly because it's actually true. Charles is at his wit's end with her mood swings. The public needs to understand she's not as stable as she appears. The Queen Mother's warnings. Contrary to the public perception that the Queen Mother approved of Charles and Camilla's relationship, several videos reveal deep concerns from the elder royal. In footage from what appears to be a private room at Clarence House in 1997, shortly after Diana's death, Camilla recounts a confrontation with Charles's grandmother. "She took me aside at Birkhall and said I needed to understand what I was getting into. The family nearly didn't survive the abdication," she told me, "and Diana was far more beloved than any of us. She warned Charles that bringing me into public life too quickly would be seen as a betrayal of Diana's memory. That's why we've had to be so patient with this wretched rehabilitation plan." This revelation contradicts the narrative that the Queen Mother had always privately supported Charles's relationship with Camilla as his true love. Instead, it suggests the older royal recognized the threat their relationship posed to the monarchy's stability after Diana's death, concerns that were overridden by Charles's determination to eventually marry Camilla. Royal biographer Penny Junor notes, "This fundamentally changes our understanding of the Queen Mother's position. Far from being the romantic who supported true love, she appears to have been the pragmatist concerned about institutional damage, precisely the role we thought the Queen herself played." Prince William's resistance. Some of the most painful footage relates to Prince William's initially hostile reaction to Camilla's growing role in his father's public life. A clip from 2001 shows Camilla in tears after what appears to be a difficult encounter with the young prince. "He said I would never be accepted, that I should be happy with my position in the shadows," she tells an off-camera friend, identified as Baroness Fiona Shackleton. "He told me Diana taught them to recognize sincerity, and he still hadn't seen it from me. Charles says he'll come around, but you should have seen his eyes. They were Diana's eyes, staring right through me." This account aligns with reports that William initially struggled to accept Camilla. But the raw emotion of the footage, and William's reported invocation of his mother, provides new insight into the difficulties of blending the fractured royal family after Diana's death. A later video from 2005, shortly before Charles and Camilla's wedding, shows a tense discussion about William's reluctance to participate in certain aspects of the ceremony. Camilla is heard saying, "If he can't bring himself to stand beside us for photographs, perhaps we should reconsider the whole public aspect." Charles is determined to press ahead regardless, but forcing the issue will only set us back another 5 years with the boys. The Saudi connection. Several videos reference what Camilla calls the Saudi situation, apparently relating to financial arrangements between Prince Charles and Saudi royal family members. In one clip from 2010, Camilla expresses concern to an advisor. Charles insists these donations are perfectly legitimate for the foundation, but the optics are terrible, especially with William and Catherine trying to modernize everything. If the extent of the Saudi funding comes out, people will question what exactly they were buying all these years. This appears to reference the controversy that eventually emerged in 2022 regarding donations from Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani to Prince Charles's charitable foundation. The videos suggest Camilla was aware of potential ethical concerns years before they became public, and that the Saudi connections may have been more extensive than previously reported. More troublingly, one video shows Camilla discussing what she refers to as Diana's Saudi problems with an unidentified man. She was getting in over her head with those people. Dodi was just the tip of the iceberg. She had no idea how to navigate those waters safely. Not that any of us tried to help her, I suppose. The rehabilitation campaign. Perhaps the most cynical revelations relate to the carefully orchestrated campaign to rehabilitate Camilla's image after Diana's death. Multiple videos show strategy meetings with public relations consultants, discussing polling data and focus group results about public perceptions of Camilla. In a 2004 session, PR executive Mark Bolland is seen presenting Camilla with a document titled Path to Acceptance. The rural, horse-loving, no-fuss image is working. You're scoring highest on authenticity and British values. The trick is to keep you in these comfortable settings rather than formal tiaras and gowns that still triggers Diana comparisons we want to avoid. The calculated nature of this image-making contrasts sharply with the more spontaneous public persona Camilla has cultivated. In one telling clip from 2016, she remarks to an aide after a successful charity appearance, "All those years of being told to stay in the background made this part easier, actually." Diana always made it look so effortless, but she was performing constantly. "I just have to be the jolly countrywoman who finally got dragged to the palace." Much simpler role. The other women. Several videos reveal that Charles and Camilla's relationship faced its own challenges over the decades. In one recording from 2004, Camilla confronts Charles about continued contact with another woman, whose name is inaudible in the footage. "You promised that was over when we decided to make things official. I've spent 30 years being the villain in your first marriage. I won't be made a fool of in my own." Royal experts suggest this likely refers to Janet Jenkins, Charles's former personal assistant with whom he maintained a close relationship, or possibly to Philippa de Pass, a longtime friend rumored to have had romantic connections with the prince during the 1990s. More surprising is Camilla's apparent awareness of other relationships Diana pursued during her marriage. In a 2008 conversation with her son Tom Parker Bowles, Camilla remarks, "Your father and I were hardly in a position to judge Diana's indiscretions, but the security risks she took were hair-raising. Meeting some of these men in public places without protection. It's a miracle more of it didn't leak to the press at the time." The Diana deal. Perhaps most shocking are references to what Camilla terms the Diana deal. Apparently, an unwritten understanding within the royal family about how Diana would be commemorated after her death. In a 2007 clip, Camilla tells an off-camera visitor, "The 20th anniversary will be the worst, and then we can finally begin scaling back the annual memorials. That was the agreement. 10 years of intense commemoration, another decade of gradually reduced observances. And then Diana becomes historical rather than contemporary. The Wales boys understand this is necessary." This coldly strategic approach to managing Diana's legacy has disturbed even seasoned royal observers. Royal commentator Richard Kay notes, "If accurate, this suggests Diana's memory was subject to a managed decline strategy, a deliberate fading away rather than the natural evolution of public remembrance." For those who loved Diana, the idea that her own sons might have been party to such an agreement is particularly painful. The future of the monarchy. As Buckingham Palace struggles to contain the fallout from these leaks, questions about the future of the monarchy under King Charles have inevitably emerged. Constitutional scholar Vernon Bogdanor observes, "The monarchy relies on mystique and general public goodwill. These videos don't show illegal activity, but they reveal a calculating side to royal operations that undermines the fairy tale elements many people still attach to the institution." Public reaction has been sharply divided. Older royalists have generally dismissed the leaks as an unconscionable invasion of privacy, while younger respondents in polling show significantly more negative reactions to the content of the videos themselves. For the monarchy's future, much depends on how King Charles and Queen Camilla respond to this unprecedented breach of their private lives. Thus far, their strategy has been legal action combined with public silence, an approach royal commentator Peter Hunt describes as hoping the storm will pass while battening down the hatches. But with hundreds of hours of footage reportedly still unpublished, and digital copies circulating beyond the reach of British injunctions, the full impact of these remarkable videos on the future of the monarchy remains to be seen. For now, one thing is certain: our understanding of the most turbulent chapter in modern royal history has been irrevocably changed.